What's up, everybody? It's J-Man, and today I want to talk to you about how one tiny decision can impact the entire NBA. People say that the NBA is too predictable, but one really small decision by a front office, or a free agent decision, or an injury, or a wrong bounce of the ball, or a wrong call by the ref, all could alter the entire league. Every move that is made today is caused by a ripple effect by something else happening. So today, I'm going to walk you through a scenario in which the only thing that changed is two players on one team's draft board switching. And that would be Kevin Durant and Greg Oden on Portland's draft board. And if you don't know, in the 2007 draft, Portland had the #1 pick and Oklahoma City had the #2 pick, and Portland picked Greg Oden over Kevin Durant. It seems crazy now, but both of these players had tremendous hype coming out of college, and it could really go either way on who Portland was going to pick. Without further ado, let's see what would happen if Portland drafted Kevin Durant. So, with the first pick in the 2007 NBA draft, the Portland Trail Blazers now select Kevin Durant. This is now what Portland's young core looks like. They have a core of Brandon Roy, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Kevin Durant instead of Greg Oden. And then Oklahoma City is starting their rebuild with Greg Oden. This is how the 2007 season went in reality when Greg Oden was on the Trailblazers and Kevin Durant was on the Thunder. Keep in mind, Portland's 41-41 record was without Greg Oden because he did not play his rookie season. And Oklahoma City, then still named Seattle, only had 20 wins. And Kevin Durant was by far the best player on that team and carried them. Kevin Durant scored 20 points per game his rookie season, and the next best scorer had 13.4. Without Kevin Durant, that team might have not won a single game. So I think it's safe to say, the Supersonics, without Kevin Durant, in the 2007 and 2008 NBA season, would have had by far the worst record in the league. So, with Oklahoma City having the worst record in the league, this is what the draft order would look like in the 2008 NBA draft. Oklahoma City moves up from pick 4 to pick 2. So instead of lucking out and getting a second future MVP in consecutive drafts, they move up to #2 and get Michael Beasley. And then future MVP Russell Westbrook goes to the Miami Heat to team up with Dwayne Wade instead of Michael Beasley. So, in 2008, Oklahoma City's record with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook was 23-59. And then the worst record in the league was 17-65. I think it's safe to say, without Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, Oklahoma City again would have by far the worst record in the league. So, with Oklahoma City now having the worst record in the league, this is how the draft order would turn out. The Washington Wizards would have ended up with the #1 pick and got Blake Griffin. Memphis, unfortunately, stays at #2 and gets a bust in Hasheem Thabeet. The Clippers fall to the 3rd pick and get future MVP James Harden. And OKC, even though they had a worse record, they get a lower pick and get Tyreke Evans instead of James Harden. So now, instead of Oklahoma City drafting 3 consecutive MVPs in Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, this is now what they have. They now have a young core of Greg Oden, Michael Beasley, and Tyreke Evans. I think it's safe to say Oklahoma City is going to be terrible for years. And while Oklahoma City is terrible, Portland is now moving forward with the core of Brandon Roy, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Kevin Durant. Miami stole Russell Westbrook, and the Clippers now have James Harden instead of Blake Griffin. So you can see just the immediate effects just through the draft is insane. 3 future MVPs and 4 future All-Stars are all on different teams. And remember, the only thing that affected this was Portland's draft board looking like this. So this is already insane, but now we're going to take a look at the real ripple effects and see where things really get crazy. So keep in mind, there are still ripple effects from this decision that showed today, but I'm just going to map out some of it for you. So, Portland drafts Kevin Durant, Oklahoma City drafts Greg Oden. So the first thing is Oklahoma City drafts Greg Oden, and that leads to Miami getting Russell Westbrook because Oklahoma City is the worst team in the league now, and then that leads to the Clippers getting Harden because Oklahoma City missed out on Russell Westbrook in the previous year. Meanwhile, looking down the road on the Portland side, because Portland now has Kevin Durant along with LaMarcus Aldridge and Brandon Roy, and remember, Brandon Roy got hurt, but Portland still looks like future contenders with Kevin Durant and LaMarcus Aldridge leading the way. So, because they're now contenders, Portland never trades Nicholas Batum, and looking further down the road, LaMarcus Aldridge probably is not going to leave Portland for the Spurs anymore now that he has Kevin Durant on his team. Portland still could have had the exact team that they had, minus the people that they used with their own draft picks, which we'll talk about in a second, because Kevin Durant would have been on a rookie deal when they signed all their players, like Wes Matthews. However, with LaMarcus Aldridge as a star and Kevin Durant as a rising star, Portland is now a very attractive destination for a star to go to create a super team. They totally have the cap space. Because remember, Kevin Durant is still on a rookie deal. So I don't think it would be hard for Portland to convince a star to come play with Kevin Durant and LaMarcus Aldridge. So now Portland is cemented as a powerhouse for at least the next 5 years. So now looking back over here, remember Miami drafted Russell Westbrook, and that was in the 2008 NBA draft. Now remember, LeBron came to Miami in 2010. So Russell Westbrook would have still been on a rookie deal, which means Miami still would have had the cap space to sign both LeBron James and Chris Bosh. So just because of Portland, Miami now has one of the best super teams of all time. That team already was one of the best super teams of all time, but now add another future MVP to that team. And they now have a team of Russell Westbrook, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh. So now with the Clippers having James Harden instead of Blake Griffin, I don't think that the Clippers ever would have gotten CP3. Remember, Blake Griffin broke out the second he started playing after he sat out his rookie season, and James Harden took a couple seasons. And Chris Paul was traded to the Clippers very early in Blake Griffin's career, when he was already a star, and James Harden was not a star at that point. And also, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin were a perfect fit together. But Chris Paul and James Harden would not have been a perfect fit. So I don't think the Clippers are making this move. So then remember, Blake Griffin is now on the Wizards. And Blake Griffin sat out his rookie season due to injury. So the Wizards still get John Wall with the first pick the next year. So now the Wizards have back-to-back first-round picks in Blake Griffin and John Wall. The only downside is 2 years later is when Bradley Beal got drafted. And by then, the team would be too good to get that third pick. So they do miss out on Bradley Beal. But they're now moving forward with two future stars in John Wall and Blake Griffin. So now speaking of draft picks, we're going back to Portland, and because they're now a powerhouse with Kevin Durant instead of Greg Oden, they miss out on drafting Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum since their picks are going to be higher now. But I think it's safe to say they're happy with Kevin Durant. So now things are really going to get crazy. With Portland now on a powerhouse that is probably going to be better than Oklahoma City's powerhouse with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, KD probably is not going to leave Portland. Remember, he still has LaMarcus Aldridge with him and probably a third star. And I don't think he's going to leave that situation to go to Golden State. So, with Golden State missing out on Durant, what does Golden State do? The Warriors, with all that cap space, are going to go out and sign the next best free agent, who is also a perfect fit for the Warriors team, and that is Al Horford. With no Al Horford, Gordon Hayward definitely is not going to sign with the Celtics. So with the Celtics now without Al Horford and Gordon Hayward, there's no way they would trade for Kyrie Irving. At this point, they would probably be committed to a long-term rebuild and would want to keep that Brooklyn pick. So because no Kyrie trade, that means that Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder are still on the Celtics. And Kyrie is still on the Cavs or is traded elsewhere. So now going back to OKC. OKC now sucks for years. And they don't have Russell Westbrook. And Kevin Durant never left them. So they're never going to be trading for Paul George. Which means that Victor Oladipo and Sabonis would never have been traded to the Pacers. And the Magic wouldn't have traded them for Serge Ibaka in the first place. So now with no Victor Oladipo breaking out into a star on the Pacers don't sign Tyreek Evans this offseason. And going back to the Warriors, if the Warriors had signed Al Horford instead of Kevin Durant, they never would have signed Boogie Cousins. Because Draymond Green and Al Horford will be playing the 4 and the 5. So now there's no room for him on the Warriors. So now, just from Kevin Durant not going to the Warriors, Utah is now a top team in the West. Boston is now in a full rebuild instead of being the favorite to go to the finals in the East. Golden State's super team now consists of Steph, Clay, Al Horford, and Draymond Green. Cleveland either still has Kyrie or Kyrie went somewhere else besides the Celtics, which means that Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder and the Brooklyn pick are still in the Celtics, and the Celtics would have used that Brooklyn pick on Colin Sexton. Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson are never traded to Cleveland for Isaiah Thomas. Rodney Hood is never traded to Cleveland for Jay Crowder. Golden State's top contender in the West is now Portland, with Kevin Durant, LaMarcus Aldridge, and another star that most likely joined them. And then going back to Portland drafting KD. Russell Westbrook is now in Miami and was just part of one of the best super teams of all time. James Harden is now leading the Clippers, and Blake Griffin is now on the Wizards with John Wall. And then Chris Paul was never traded to the Clippers now because they have James Harden. Bradley Beal wasn't drafted by the Wizards because they had John Wall and Blake Griffin and were too good to draft him. Portland never would have drafted Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum because they would have been too good and wouldn't have those high draft picks with Kevin Durant. And then Paul George, Boogie Cousins, Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, the list goes on. We have no idea where they would be. So then just based off of that, with them being on different teams, then that changes the entire NBA. Now there's all of the ripple effect with the role players going to different teams. This is really just the main stuff. I barely even scratched the surface of what the real effect of this would be. If this happened, there would be effects going on 20 years from now. Keep in mind, everything I've been talking about in this video all resulted from one tiny decision. This has all been a result of Portland just switching Kevin Durant and Greg Oden on their draft board. So just with scratching the surface and laying all this out for you, 14 All-Stars and 2 near All-Stars in CJ McCollum and Tyreke Evans are now on different teams. Plus an endless amount of role players are now on different teams as well to go with those stars. And the only reason this is not what the NBA looks like is because Portland ranked Greg Oden ahead of Kevin Durant in the 2007 NBA draft. That's it for this video. If you want me to do more of these what if videos, leave a like and let me know in the comments. It truly is insane how these smallest decisions can change the entire league. And this isn't just front office decisions. This is also player free agency decisions, injuries, referee decisions, and even just the ball bouncing the wrong way. Thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.